Lumen CMMS Plus, a great way to manage your assets, within your facility. We're proud to say that we currently manage more than 1 million assets worldwide right now. Very proud of that. We've got over 40,000 active daily users. We have a pre-built, fully tested Sage integration that is, ready to go, and I'll touch on that a little bit kind of at the end here. And yeah, really, Lumen is going to be, your out of the box tool for predictive maintenance. So now I'm just going to switch over here and show you a little demo of Lumen. So where I'll start today is where most of our users kind of begin their day, and that's going to be our homepage dashboards. So Lumen's homepage dashboards are completely configurable and customizable. So each user can set this up so that they're going to see, what they need to see, when they start their day. And this can be also set up based on their role and their priorities. So here I'm logged in as a maintenance supervisor. At the top of my screen here, I've got a number of different KPIs. So I'm seeing things like downed assets, open work orders, overdue work orders. And if you're like me at all and you want to know where you should focus your attention when you're starting your day, we've added some logic behind these. So I'm sure your eyes got drawn right to this one right here. So I've set a rule and said if my overdue work orders exceed 2, I want to highlight that in red. So I know that's where I should be focusing my attention for the day. Down at the bottom here, I've got a bunch of different helpful grids. So these are, a little more informative. They've got, rows and columns here with lots of information. And one of my favorite parts about these is you can do a lot of work right here from your dashboard. So things like, work requests awaiting approval. I can approve them from here, reject them. I can view them or print them. I can assign work orders, to technicians from here. Without ever having to leave this screen. And real quick, before I go any further, I do want to quickly just show you another version of a homepage dashboard. So this is my iPad here logged in, and here I'm logged in as a technician. So same environment, just a little bit of a different look and feel, because oftentimes we find that technicians, they've got one question, and, that's what work is assigned to me today, what do I need to get done? So this, very simply lists out the work orders that this technician has to do. And, again, like my dashboard back here, I can do everything like enter time, start a timer, do condition assessments, things like that, all from right here, right on my dashboard. Okay, now bouncing around a little bit here, we'll come back to my supervisor, and I want to go in and we'll take a look at managing our assets within Lumen here. So when we're doing this, so you can make this as completely customizable and configurable as you want, similar to your homepage dashboards here. So if your facility might be like multiple plants or multiple locations, we've got a multi-level hierarchy here that's, again, very customizable, and it can match your exact structure. So like I said, in a situation where you might be like a multi-plant kind of facility, you might start with your top level, which is going to be like a site or a plant here. Then you can dig into things like departments and maybe buildings. Down from there, you can go to production lines, then work cells, all the way down to the asset level itself. And we indicate over here on the left, if you notice these ones with the wrenches here, that's going to indicate that we've got work orders for these particular assets here. And another one of my favorite things here that I want to kind of quickly point out is going to be our facility view. So we have added this facility view to give you a real-time picture of the health of your assets, kind of all in one glance here. So you can upload, a picture or a schematic or a blueprint of your warehouse, attach your assets to it, and then you can see the overall health of those assets. So anything in green, like you can see here, is going to indicate that that asset is up and running, operational, no issues. Anything in purple, so like this one here and this one here, is going to indicate that we've got planned maintenance scheduled for those assets. Orange, like these, is going to indicate that we've got an open repair work order. And then anything in red is going to indicate that that asset is currently down. These colors can update automatically by things like PMs being scheduled, work orders being logged, or even machine triggers coming from either Sensa data or SCADA input. So let's take a quick look at an asset here. So I'm just going to double click on that and we'll open up this pump and we'll just kind of take a look at some of the things that we kind of capture here when we're looking at an asset in LLumin. Over on the left here, we've got some cards here with some like high level helpful information. And as you navigate through, we track a ton of stuff, things like manufacturer information, financial information and cost of ownership, all the way down to giving you the ability to attach notes and files. So things like pictures or OEM manuals, lockout tagout procedures, all sorts of stuff right here, just, following that asset. And this stuff will go along to the technicians as well. One of my favorite things here in LLumin is going to be the ability to take those real-time updates from those machine sensors and SCADA sensors and create things like we see here, which are condition-based action triggers. So what we've said with this particular pump, we've set up a couple here where one, we've got a temperature and vibration warning and also a low pressure warning. So if we dig into this, what we can see is if the temperature on this pump reaches, higher than 150 degrees, and our vibration is measuring at a rate of higher than 20, that can be a cause for alarm for us on this particular pump. Maybe we've seen, things happen at that case. So we're saying if we get those updates from those sensors, to let us know by notifying a group of 5 technicians via email. So, and we're requiring acknowledgement from them so that they, got that alert. If we don't hear anything within 2 hours, what we're asking the system to do here is notify a group of 3 maintenance supervisors via text message. So that way, nothing is going to fall through the cracks on this. We're going to get, somebody looking at this, very quickly. So what do we want to do once we've met those conditions, we've notified the appropriate people? Typically at that point, we would want to, take action. So in this case, we're telling the system to create a work order. And what we've found out is often if our temperature and our vibration are measuring high like that, it might indicate that it's time to replace the bearings. So, we can attach a procedure here with step-by-step instructions on how to, replace those bearings. This can also be like a checklist steps that our technician has to follow and indicate that they did each of the required steps here and make sure that we are taking care of that before it ever really becomes an issue. So the great thing here is that we've got automation in place that's going to improve your uptime. It's going to help us predict failures before they can even happen. So moving on, now that we've started getting work orders from our machine conditions here, we'll talk a little bit about scheduling work orders. So we have a work order calendar here that I'll show you. And what this is going to be is just kind of a good list and a good indication of what work you have on any given day. In this case of a month, we could look at 10 days out. We could look at a 7-day week, a work week, all the way down to a specific day here, and just kind of see the different things that we've got scheduled. This is also especially helpful. I can, total this out by technician, so I can see how many hours I have scheduled for each person each day. So that way, again, no work is slipping through the cracks. I'm not overloading anybody, and everything that we need to do is getting covered, in a timely manner, and efficiently here. And then the last thing that I want to kind of show you here before I talk a little bit more about the Sage integration is tracking inventory in LLumin. So we've got customers that track all sorts of inventory in Lumen. So you can use Lumen to track all of your maintenance related inventory. So that's going to be things like consumable spare parts, filters, belts, seals, things that you're changing out as part of your, routine PMs. But you can also use Lumen to track any, just maintenance related supplies that you might use. So a lot of our customers are using this to track things like safety glasses, oil and grease, paper towels, really anything that you use in your facility can be tracked, within Lumen here. I'm going to just select an item here and just kind of show you some of the stuff that we track here. I won't dig into everything again because there is a lot of different things that we do track. But if I'm looking at purchasing, one of my favorite things here is looking at the reordering. So up across the top here, I can see my on hand for this particular belt in each of my stock rooms or plants at this point. So I can see I've got 35 here, 34 in Hartford, 8 in our Worcester plant, and I've got one on this service truck as well. But down below here under my reordering, I can see, again, in my Springfield stockroom, I've got 35 on hand. And I've told the system if I get down to 4 on this, it's time to reorder this part. So we typically would want to order this in quantities of 8 and until we get up to a max quantity of 12 of these on hand. So what's going to happen is, as this belt is getting used on things like work orders, it's getting issued out to an asset, things like that. That's going to update your on hand, in real time. And as soon as your inventory hits that reorder point level, it's going to trigger basically a reorder request for this item. So if we look, I've got here a reorder list of all the different things that the system has indicated that I need based on that math and those thresholds. So here I can see, what the item is, how many I should be ordering. I can see my on hand here as well. And I can even see who my preferred vendor is as well over here. So one of my favorite parts about this is I can, select one of these and up here, I can select all of these by vendor. So that's going to select everybody. And if you notice over here, I've got one for my Hartford plant, and the rest of these are for Springfield. I'm going to uncheck that Hartford one. And what that'll allow me to do here is add all of these items to a purchase order. So, really, really quick and easy way to, order your stuff. That way you are not running out of any of your, high need, consumable spares before, you actually need them. And really, you've got a good handle, on your inventory. And last thing here I wanted to kind of show you guys is we'll switch back over and I'll show you a slide here. So I want to talk a little bit about our integration with Sage. So the way this works typically is kind of a two-way street. So as vendors get created in Sage, those will get sent over to Lumen automatically. So that's new vendors or vendors that are edited or changed. They might already be existing. Those changes will flow right over into Lumen. Then on the flip side, so once a purchase order gets created in Lumen, that will get sent over to Sage. So that info that gets sent over is going to include things like which vendor it's for, your item descriptions, what GL accounts, the quantities, the price, if there's any miscellaneous fees or freight or tax associated with that as well. And then once your users actually receive that purchase order in Lumen, Lumen's going to then send your PO receipt into Sage as well. So that's going to include, again, date received, all the info from above, which vendor, everything like that, the quantity that you received, and we also support multiple partial receipts. So maybe you're, expecting, multiple deliveries, something was on back order, whatever it might be. We'll send that partial receipt. And then once you get your, the rest of it in, Lumen will send the rest of that over as well. That is pretty much everything that I had to show for today. So again, Amy, thank you very much for putting this together, and everybody, thank you for your time. And if anybody has any questions or would like to see a deeper dive into a demo, just let me know, and we'd be happy to do so.
Thank you, Jamie. That was great.